G'day everyone, this is Rangadad, not financial advice, just the way I'm looking at the market. I'll try and make this a quick one. Got shit to do Saturday morning over here, so um, yeah, strong move from Bitcoin. This push to the upside is actually, the strength of it's actually starting to concern me a little bit. We just haven't seen any major pullbacks in the last 5 days. Obviously crypto can do that, but not normally off the lows like this and pushing through key levels as easily as what it is. Like typically for a breakout, we do still see decent pullbacks and confirmation of key levels. Now, that being said, this trend line may not be considered by the market to be a key level. I think it was just based on the fact we did reject off that for a day. We did have a bit of a pullback. So I do still expect it to come back in there and retest this at some stage. But this is just keeps pushing. And at this stage, it looks like liquidity hunting, just because of the fact there's been no pullbacks. And there hasn't been a lot of liquidity come into the charts below price. So it's just moving to where it can transact, where the actual orders are. And we'll have a look in a sec. I haven't actually started up my my other charts and things yet, so I'll do them in the background. But yeah, look, we're still, this BBWP and stochastic momentum has still got a fair bit that can play out here. Like we could actually just rip through and continue up 150k. What I would suggest though is there's only so long you can actually keep going until the bulls get exhausted, and need a bit of a break. So where that is, I don't know, but we are seeing a divergence in CBD here, and it's not necessarily candle by candle. There is actually a lot of green candles that have red cumulative volume delta. But if you look at it just as literally a channel, there's a channel coming down here while price is going in the opposite direction, and typically that's not going to end with more upside. It's typically going to end with downside. So just something to keep in mind. The interesting thing though is it looks like CVD, like that's on spot. CBD, I think that's combined. I really need to check that. Should have actually checked that. Sorry. This is either combined spot and futures, or it is just futures. Not 100% sure. That's a different interface than what it used to be. Anyway, so just know there's a bit of a divergence forming here. There's a lot of red on the bid-ask delta too, all through this last run up. So that tells me it's probably going to get exhausted reasonably soon. 105 500 area was always a key area for us on the last run up as well. I actually thought it was going to get there on the last little pump back in here, but we got rejected pretty hard off that. So this will probably end up a green vector, in which case a pullback and recovery of that would make sense. thing that worries me here is that this could just be vector recovery. So there's a few conflicting things. Like, I would tend to go more with further upside is likely based on this, but we are coming into some trend lines that have been sort of pretty key lines, both as support and resistance so far. And then, but we're so close to all-time highs as well, with accelerating BBWP and momentum. So look, at this stage, it looks like it wants to keep going up. I'll have a look at the shorter time frames in a sec to see if we can find anything in here. But yeah, but coming off increasing global liquidity as well, so it still is ticking to the upside, which is good. So even though the Dixie is actually going up a little today, it's bouncing off that trend line that I pointed out the other day. Bitcoin's still ripping. We are having a little bit of rejection of gold off that key resistance level as well. I do expect that to be relatively short-lived. I'm still expecting gold to push higher over the next few months. Well, probably, to be honest with you, over the next couple of years. But yeah, silver, decent rejection on silver as well. Not really a major level there that I would expect silver to be rejected of. It's just a highly traded area. Silver, you want to see hold that trend line, I would think. And it could do. This is a pullback. Stochastic momentum's still above the bullish control zone, but BBWP is dropping too. So if the stock market continues to run, we may actually get more downside on silver. Just while the money flows back into stocks. Copper failed this trend line so far. Probably a good level for a bit of a short back into 4.24 if you're trading copper. I'd be a little careful there though. I think stochastic momentum still in the bullish control zone. BBWP hasn't fully peaked yet. This could still have some life in it yet. So something to keep in mind there as well. Yeah, somewhere around $4.27, I think is going to be a pretty key support. And if the economy is going well, then that should be support there. Okay, if the economy is actually under the hood not going great, then copper will probably fall off more. And that's going to be a sign as to whether sort of the stock market, I guess, is due for a pullback or is just going through a bit of a blow off top, bubbly sort of phase. If it's still going up while copper's coming down. So back to Ethereum. Ethereum's doing okay, but it still hasn't really cracked this trend line here. We want to see it push through, and there is actually some more longs coming through on the Ethereum versus BTC chart. So that's suggesting Ethereum may get a bit of a run in the next couple of days, especially compared to BTC. CME is probably going to close pretty high here. CME may close on a new high. like a new high closure. What was that? That one closed at 107, 190. That'll be interesting if we do close higher than this level. So yeah, I just CME looks like it's got heaps to run. This, just looking at it very simply on the daily, it looks like we've got more upside to come over the next weeks and months. That's the overarching thing with all of this is more to come. Shorter time frames, I think we will have some pullbacks just because we've been running for so damn long with no real breather. But look, NASDAQ, strong day for NASDAQ here. Above this trend line is a good thing. Yeah, look, it's potentially got a fair bit to run as well. So NASDAQ should come up at least back up to the all-time highs here. I would expect it to hit 22. And to be honest with you, it's probably going to keep going. The thing that would destroy markets from here, and this would be a fake out or a dodgy move, is when Trump comes in next week and markets aren't open on Monday, thankfully. I think that would be a pretty volatile day, and it potentially will be for Bitcoin as well. But it's doing roughly what we said it would do. I thought it would actually bottom off a little bit later in the week than what it did. It actually bottomed on Monday and then moved up into the inauguration effectively. It really, next week's going to depend a lot on the executive orders and stuff that Trump comes out with on Monday and really for the rest of the week. I think earnings have been good enough this week as well that's helped drive the market. So at this stage, this has just been a regular sort of pullback. What did we get? 7.3%. That's not too bad. We've got to watch that this may be a fake out, but at this stage, there's a lot of momentum building to the upside. US 100, sorry, equal weight still going really well. So NASDAQ equal weight has finally broken this range that it was in. So I would expect that to keep going. If we get a rejection from sort of, let's do a box here. We get a rejection from anywhere in this region here, then that would concern me a little bit, that we would be putting in a local top. But so it's something I'll keep an eye on. But at this stage, I'm not really expecting much. ES futures, this again may provide a little bit of resistance, and we are going up quite sharply, but momentum's to the upside, global liquidity's to the upside. Quick look at the advanced decline line. So advanced decline line supporting all this as well. So, moving averages breaking back above. This is suggesting we're going on a pretty decent run just based off this, like similar to April 2024, I would say. It's been a similar sort of size correction. Probably a little bit bigger than April 2024. What happened in April 2024? Look. So April 2024. What did we get there? We got basically 7% again. And yeah, we went up pretty good for quite a while. The bottom to top on that push was 15%. on S&P 500. So not bad. Yeah, we could still get pullbacks like here. So that was, I mean, a little bit different here because the trend line's probably more like this. So it was probably resistance. Then it just broke out. Didn't actually come back and retest that really. So take that as you see fit. Yeah, what's 15% look like from here? About 6,600, which there are some very smart traders calling for about 6,800 on S&P 500. So just want to see what time frame that was over. 60 bars, so 88 days, so basically 3 months. Yeah, it's very close to that. So that same time frame, which may not play out, but that same time frame would be roughly April, mid-April this year. So that's an interesting time frame because we've been calling for sort of May as being the potential top for Bitcoin, or certainly the point at which we should have put in a top. So yeah, keep that in mind. The S&P 500 equal weight may find a bit of resistance here. It's a fairly old sort of trend line there. To be honest with you, it's probably draw it more like that. So a few more days to the upside yet, but again, if we're gonna do that 15% sort of run, then you'd just expect it to be a little choppy through the start of the Trump campaign while everyone's figuring out what he's going to do, and sort of should start just meandering up on this over the next few months. I'll leave that there. IWM. IWM's still stuck in this range. That's a little concerning that hasn't gone on more of a run yet. Just lagging a little bit, I think. Money will flow through different sectors in this bull. I think you'll see a lot of rotation into different sectors. Bloody SPDR is going nuts. Sorry, XLI. Yeah, industrial. Could be to do with the Trump expectations. I mean, that would make sense at this stage. XLY, XLP still high. XLP versus SPY is actually potentially finding a bit of a bottom here. And this is the key one. We're breaking this downward trend line and moving away from it. To me, that's the first signs that we're getting close to a top on S&P 500. Okay. Yeah, I think that is going to be a pretty key trend line there. All right. Equal weight, XLY, XLP is still going well. Same sort of thing on this one. This is the equal weight. XLP, sorry, staples versus S&P 500 equal weight. Again, that there is a fairly key downward trend. probably a different downward trend on this one that you want to be careful of. That there's going to be something to watch out for, which means we've potentially got a little bit to go on this, but the first sign would be probably a break of that. And then breaking below that, I would say that's probably confirmation that we're going to go into more of a significant correction. This one's actually been pretty good at picking bottoms too. Not great here though. All right. Yeah, so there is a little bit of staples starting to pick back up. And that could just go with the market in general. But yeah, typically staples get more interest when the market's going down. So something to keep in mind there, but I wouldn't say it's broken any sort of key levels, but what I would say is it is at some key levels here. So if we do pull down past this level here, yeah, if we get a decent couple of months of run on the stock market, this should come down quite a bit, I would think, unless the big guys just start rotating into it, knowing that there's going to be a bigger correction later in the year. KRE hasn't broken that trend line yet. I'd like to see that above there to really suggest that the market's healthy. Yeah, home construction still going okay. You'd expect some of these to have a bit of a break as well. There'll be people taking profit on the way up here. Semis are still kind of flat, even after TSMC had pretty good earnings and pretty good projections. So that's a little surprising. DJT, DJI Gold, yeah, okay. They're suggesting more upside on the markets. But they're not faring super well against gold. DJI is, DJT is a bit flat. Still not really breaking to the downside there. VIX has broken sort of that trend there for the time being. You want to see the VIX keep dropping for the time being. Skew yesterday, again, this has been a pretty good read on where markets are going. It did bump yesterday, and we have had a quite positive day on the markets. So the read at the end of the day today is going to be a good predictor of what happens next week, Tuesday. So keep that in mind. And it's probably going to give you an idea of what's going to happen to Bitcoin as well. One thing we don't want to see on Bitcoin is big dark pool activities at the close today, because I think that will lead to a pullback over the weekend, I would think. We did have some massive dark pool trades on IBIT yesterday at the close, which could have actually been buys based on price action today, but let's see. German market has broken out. That surprises me, but I guess once you test a trend line so many times, it does tend to break eventually. Maybe if we get a couple of days down on S&P 500 or something next week, or maybe even Monday, because the German market should be open, I think, you may actually see a bit of a retrace and a retest of that trend line. And then moving away from that would be quite bullish for markets in general, I think, because the German economy is supposed to be pretty shit at the moment. Chinese market still struggling a bit, but in general, it's probably going to have another couple of days to the upside. But China is struggling at the moment, and there is a bit of an issue with cash and banks and stuff over there, which this week in particular, a lot of the businesses get cash because there's big bank closures and stuff. The Chinese New Year or something, I don't know. But anyway, just from what I've been hearing, they've struggled, and there's had to be some pretty major cash injections from the central bank in China over the last week. So China is really struggling with their financial system at the moment, and that's something that's brewing that could end up being the black swan event this year. Now, this is pretty critical. Based on everything else I'm seeing, this UK market could actually continue here. Expect a retest of this similar to the German market. If we fail this line, then this is likely a Wyckoff distribution, and I'd be expecting it to probably break below this, which won't look good overall for global economy. But based on everything else we're looking at, probably a retest and a move to the upside makes a lot of sense, which would actually make this a Wyckoff accumulation. I wouldn't be buying this breakout. This may give us the first sort of signs of confirmation that the US market's actually going to keep going up as well. So, whoa, retail sales is down pretty massive, and yet the market ripped. That's a little intuitive there, which is a little concerning, but yeah, wait and see what happens. Japanese market, bit of support off the 800 EMA here. Actually looks like it could turn around here. Bit of bullish divergence off this level as well. Hidden bullish divergence just between those two levels. Yeah, Japanese market might go okay here. Again, the fact that a lot of the markets are pushing all-time highs or breaking out or look like turning around suggests that we may get a decent run to the upside. Treasuries, good push off the bottom there. Yeah, at this stage, probably that was a good buy level, which was that gap close that we talked about. High yield junk. And there's going to be some overhead resistance here, but in general, that's going along with the market. And in fact, that's sort of looking more bullish than the market itself. Aussie bonds, yeah, island reversal there. LQDIF, it's again trending up, so that's a good sign. As long as this keeps trending up, I would expect markets to keep pushing higher. 2-year, 10 years starting to jump a little, mainly because 10 years flat to down, and the 2 years just had a little bump. Now, still want to confirm which way we're going out of this wedge here. So at the moment, no real confirmation yet. Ten-year, it's getting a bit of support off the 50 there, but I think, yeah, it should come back to this trend line. just based on momentum and stuff. Chinese 10-year. I'd like to see a little bit more upside on this one, but it is trending to the upside at least. So break above that 50 and should be okay. Global liquidity wise, government bonds, 2-year. Yeah, all right. So that's pretty much the markets at the moment. As I said, we've just been ripping liquidity, and we are starting to see a bit come into the charts here. The key's been to sort of look at the 2-week and the monthly liquidity charts lately. Obviously, we took these pretty quickly. Yeah, it looks like it wants to take this, which is up into the 106,500. Started to take some, and we're just bridging these gaps in liquidity too quite quickly. So it's been a little bit surprising. Typically, once it takes quite a bit, it has a bigger relax, but not this time. It's going for some key levels in those liquidity levels, and the next key one above, really, if we break through this 106,500, is all-time highs, 109, 110 sort of levels. Just go to the maps. So 1 day, we've got a lot more to the downside now. 7 days, very heavy to the downside. And 30 days now being tidied up. As we mentioned yesterday, like this went further than I thought it would, just based on balancing out the liquidation levels on either side of price. Whether it wants to keep going to the 16,500, have to wait and see, but there is a lot to the downside. So that lends itself to a decent retrace this weekend. All right. And then potential more upside later. We got 105,800-ish change. There's been a good amount of sellers coming into the charts as well. There is quite a bit above, not a hell of a lot below, just in terms of orders. Compared to what's above here, but at the same time, we've been going up for a while. It's just whether or not it wants to just keep pushing for the time being. Really tough to say. You kind of need a little bit more confirmation, but the fact that CVD on this one as well looks like it's starting to flatten off and starting to make sort of lower highs when spot is making higher highs. That suggests to me that that might have actually been the top for now, which is a pretty good level because it's basically hitting that trend line that we pointed out before. So I think we will come up into here reasonably soon, but I do expect a decent retrace this weekend. I think might happen pretty quickly too, but no real gauge on the levels here apart from liquidation levels, which 98 is probably going to be a pretty good target. It's just it may get some support around the 100K mark, particularly around 100 and a half, just because that seems to have been a key resistance level on the way up as well. All right. I think that's about it. Nothing much else to cover, really. Some of the single stocks aren't doing great still. Mag 7 kind of broken that downward trend line as well. Apple looks like it wants to bounce off this trend line. It'll probably go with the rest of the market, I would suspect. Triple M's doing okay as well. The reason I put that on, Triple M's going to be relatively susceptible to macro economy, just because they've got a lot of different sectors that cover consumer and sort of industrial commercial stuff. So that's a strong sign that 3M look like they want to break previous highs. Nvidia, I think, is still going to run. Certainly geared in that direction at the moment. Broadcom, yeah, and these could just be struggling because they're at such high levels already. Like those gap ups are pretty massive. Need a bit more time to accumulate if they're going to go higher again. If yeah, SMCI, AMCL. Still just grinding up. Airbnb getting a little bit of interest here. I think Airbnb should be able to come back up into this vector here, 147. TSM's actually pulled back. Obviously, they bounced on earnings, but a little bit of a pullback today. A little bit surprising, actually. Hopefully this is just semis not getting as much of the money flow yet. Money's flowing into other sectors that have been a bit more beaten down, like transport and industrials and stuff like that. So hopefully this is just more of an accumulation type area. Because if they don't run, then I don't expect the market in general to keep running. ASX 200's looking reasonably strong. Still struggling to break this previous high here. Total crypto market cap. It's a good move. If we see a closure of this above the previous high, that's potentially going to happen before Bitcoin makes a new all-time high too, which would suggest some strength. Another key level sort of broken on stable coins versus Bitcoin, which is a pretty decent sign. BTC longs are still actually ticking up as well. So even though the market is going up, there's actually not a lot of people taking profit here. So that to me suggests that these guys are expecting more out of Bitcoin. So just be careful if you're shorting pullbacks. They may not last as long as what we think they might. Let's just see what that might actually look like. It might only come into the 102.200, just into this as previous key resistance. Similar level over here was resistance previously, so that 101, 400, 500 is probably actually a good zone. So somewhere between 102, 700. So yeah, potentially even the 100,500 was a key resistance on the way up here. So somewhere in there, I think is probably going to provide support. If it even wants to come back there, it doesn't have to. It can actually blow through. If it does, then happy days. I think I wouldn't be calling a top on it until we see some major sort of reversal signals. But just in the shorter time frames, based on cumulative volume delta and stuff, I would probably be expecting a bit of a pullback. Sorry, shorter time frames. So this is the bot at the moment. I actually had this up around 160% over the 6 months, with about $50 drawdown on $1,000 account, max drawdown. But I'm trying to introduce shorts into it at the moment, so that was just longs only. Shorts are a bit harder typically, but yeah, we've got a decent close signal here. But yeah, it just keeps ripping. So not it's a reasonable topping signal there on the 15-minute. I'm not seeing everything I need to see there, but there are some pretty decent divergences there as well, and we are quite extended to the upside. So probably a close below 105,000 is probably going to lead to more downside. Funnily enough, 102,524 is the bottom of this vector candle here. That doesn't look like $3,000 between here and there, does it? Those have been trading Bitcoin since it was $3,000. That seems nuts. Just think how excited people got when Bitcoin used to do a $3,000 move in a day. Yeah, next stop is this level here, which is around the 100K mark. So they're probably the two key levels over the weekend. It could go deeper for sure. There's certainly some other levels around 97, 300, but they're not, I wouldn't call them super levels. But yeah, the 800 EMA on the 15-minute, which is what, 200 on the 1 hour, that is sitting around that 97, 98 mark. So certainly over the next couple of days, that could happen. But at this stage, you would expect those sort of levels to provide some pretty decent support and some pretty decent bounces. So yeah, they're key levels for me. Just go back over here to previous high. Yeah, we've taken out this level here. We've come into this vector candle here. Now the next leg up, next actual vector candle target is the all-time high. And that's why, like, I thought somewhere around the 105, just based on liquidity levels plus this vector candle here, that was a target when we were running up at this point. Sorry, not that point. Where was it? This one here. But yeah, just never got there. So look, I think the next leg up, if we do find support relatively soon, next leg up should actually break to all-time highs. Going to be watching closely around the 110 mark. There is a fair bit of sell pressure at 110, but if the stock market's going up and everything's looking fine, then it should keep running from there, which brings probably 120k into play and potentially higher. It's hard to tell at the moment, but if some of these big buys on IBIT have been actual buys, then there's a lot of institutions buying Bitcoin at relatively high levels, so expecting to get a fair bit more out of it. Just keep that in mind. Again, we've tagged this trend line. This is a good spot for a pullback. Just broke through that pivot with a bit of resistance on the 1 hour, but I would expect that to keep coming down through those levels. That's about it, really. Not much else to say. Catch us later.